Mr. Barlow. That's all I've got to say.
Anyway,
I wouldn't watch this in public.
welcome to That Japanese Thing. Today we're talking about Mushoku Tensei. My name's Chris, your host. Today with me is Dylan and Yesh. How you guys doing?
Hi.
Going well.
We're okay. Everything's okay. We're all okay, guys.
Everything's fine. Things are fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So this is going to be a focused episode on just Mushoku Tensei. We're going to talk about most of it, the light novels and the anime. Yes, you've read the web novels.
Yes, in fact, I was reading them this morning,
Oh, okay.
proving that it's quite actually addictive in a way.
Yeah, no. I mean, like I've been listening to the light novels on Audible, and I mean I like them. But there's also a manga. I don't know if you've read any of it. It's probably not relevant.
I read the manga up to date, but the manga is
Just
well
the anime,
behind.
right? Yeah, it's probably it's something that exists because they're making an anime. It's not something that's by itself worthwhile watching. It's like the Goblin Slayer manga or whatever.
It's very similar, yeah. I will say Goblin Slayer, the manga, came out before the anime. But yeah, I mean,
It was like 2 chapters ahead or something like that, right?
but it's not as well maintained as the anime or the light novel, obviously.
Right. So this is like the biggest isekai at the moment, I would say. Agree, disagree?
Biggest isekai. Yes, I guess so. Yeah. I think Re:Zero is given a lot of credit because its new season is coming out in 2 or 3 seasons, I think. But until we found out that a new season was coming out, yeah, Mushoku Tensei was certainly the one with a bit more hype to it.
It's sort of, I mean, it's the one that makes the most headlines out of all of the current isekai
Are we
stuff.
talking purely numbers, or are we talking about people viewing those headlines? There is a difference here.
So, I
Because
mean...
there is another one making a lot of headlines.
Oh, okay, what are you talking about?
Eminence in the Shadow.
Okay, yeah.
You might dislike it, but it's in a ton of headlines, always.
Okay, I don't get that, but I'll concede that point. I actually don't know how big that is. I'm maybe have a look at that at some point.
From a marketing standpoint, they've got Nendroids, they've got mini shows coming. It's become the... Remember how Re:Zero, you couldn't escape Re:Zero at one point?
Sure.
Even though it wasn't really popular as an anime, I guess.
Like, it's never on TV because it's
And it's
12
never on TV.
episodes
But
for half a year or whatever.
yeah, but on the other side of the coin, you can't escape REM ads, REM appearances, and like occasional Re:Zero references everywhere else.
Sure.
So weirdly, like they're advertising Eminence in the Shadow a ton more than they are making Eminence in the Shadow. But yes, sorry, Mushoku Tensei,
Yeah.
consistently popular.
Consistently popular and like a lot of weird controversies because obviously the source material is a little bit salacious at points. Although never...
And the author is a bit of a jackass.
Sure, I probably agree. He sort of describes himself as the protagonist at some point in an interview.
And
So-
he makes, I think he purposely makes comments that can be interpreted badly. I think he thinks that gains him free press.
So he got Mushoku Tensei kind of banned on Bilibili, which is the Chinese streaming service, which is kind of like Chinese YouTube with Netflix
Kind of like
combined
Chinese
into
YouTube,
one
yes.
thing. I mean, that's where you stream anime if you're in China, apparently. Bilibili. Legally or illegally.
Yeah, but also you get your like binge series on Bilibili.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's what I mean. So you'll be able to find most of your streaming stuff there. And yeah, I don't know the context. It's just apparently there was a bunch of Chinese not YouTubers, Bilibili like influencers that were saying this guy is popularizing bottom feeders in the social hierarchy. And like China's weird that way. People actually still care about that sort of thing apparently there. I feel like it's such a weird thing for society to actually care about the image of a fictional property and how it might affect society. That being said,
Well, remember, China tries to very strongly form the opinion that video games ruin your life, so you're not allowed to play video games.
Yeah, what's
They
it
have a
like?
citizen index.
Children
and
aren't allowed
stuff
to
like
play
that.
video games for more than 45 minutes a day or something ridiculous like that.
It's been shifted up to 2 hours, but
Okay.
still, that's a wacky concept. Oh yeah, if you play for a little bit too much, you'll lose your worth
I mean,
and stuff like that.
yeah.
So like, it's difficult to take the great leader's standards seriously.
But anyway, so he kind of pissed off China. That's one of the controversies, right?
Well, he responded by basically forming the opinion that because as a bottom feeder, he was becoming like relevant enough that they were responding to him. He's like proof that being a bottom feeder is not a bad thing.
His response was to the YouTuber, or whatever you call it in China, that said it. The Rifujin, that's the author, is saying, his words are only personal opinion, and he is free to hold whatever view he likes. Although I am displeased at how he has insulted other viewers. Anime is not made only for successful people, so those who can enjoy it will enjoy it. And,
kind of suggesting that he is targeting bottom feeders, and that's fine, which is fine.
Yeah,
but he did it in a very aggro manner, I must say. Please note, I'm hearing from the Japanese audience, and the Japanese audience were all hyped up at how aggro he was about it. And I don't hear the words myself as a note. It's just the responses I've seen.
Sure. He's a bit controversial. And I don't know, I kind of find it refreshing. He's like I don't know, like a douchebag author who's nonetheless written something quite fascinating. I know, like, maybe like you're not of that opinion, Yash, but I kind of like the raw awfulness of some of the characters in this story.
If I enjoyed his work, I think I would agree with you.
So, for those who don't know what Mushoku Tensei is, I suppose let's just quickly summarize. It's a reincarnation / transferal isekai.
It is a full isekai. A person from Japan dies and gets born into a magical new world.
So spoilers. Skip 5 minutes ahead if you care about such things. He dies on the street, right? In front of like a bunch of high school girls. That's how it happens? Like truck hits him or something. I don't care.
He gets run over by a truck while trying to protect high schoolers, yeah.
And so those girls are also like transferred at the same time.
But we don't find that out for a very
But they aren't
long time.
reincarnated. They're just like magically transferred. Potentially by a different god.
And also for perhaps a different purpose. It kind of feels like they were transferred for the actual story, and our MC was transferred almost by accident.
Yeah, it does feel... Well, I mean, it's like the human god that is like the one that's messing with him, you know, is just messing with him. Or is using him for a purpose that's against the will of the other powers that be, so to speak.
But also just to torture him.
Well, he's not like Sonzai X from Tanya.
No, he's not like a purely evil force. But he certainly is.
It does kind of seem. Sorry, I'll let you finish a sec, Yash, that like everything he does is kind of to teach him a lesson. And like specifically, like they make an awful point of it in the anime, just like showing how pathetic this human was, right? When he died, like he was just a waste of meat. No one was going to care about him. He'd essentially, like, you know, he'd locked himself away to the point where his own family drove him out of the house. It would have been a sort of relief for him to die, kind of. And he takes a lot of
It
that
certainly would
baggage
have
with
been
him.
an option.
Yeah, I mean, he takes a lot of that baggage with him to his next life, obviously. But he makes like the pledge to do things properly next time.
Mm.
That is the title of the full title
Jobless
of the thing.
reincarnation. I will do better in my next life, or something like that.
Yeah, Isekai Itara Honkidasu. So I'll properly do it next time. And,
I think it's important to mention, that Mushoku Tensei is pretty much the beginning of the new style of isekai. It's the literal first light novel. By light novel, please note, I'm not saying web novel, I'm saying light novel. But literal first light novel of the style of isekai where the guy gets reincarnated, he has an ultra power, and then they go into a guild to get ranking systems, and then they fight monsters, and then they encounter gods and stuff. That entire style of isekai that has been basically choking out the anime industry for the last decade literally began with Mushoku Tensei's story.
I'm not entirely sure that's true, just because like it's actually not that old. When you look at the years it was produced, it was 2012, and that's the web novel. The light novel was only 2015 or something. 2014.
Well, this story
and I mean that's
is
like when
oftentimes
like
listed.
Konosuba was already out, right? So I mean there must have been a few things.
But
before that.
Konosuba and Sword Art Online's authors have said that this is the story that influenced them.
But like how? They'd have to be time
I don't know
travelers.
how,
It's not
but
possible.
like literally, Sword Art Online's creator used this guy's work a little bit. Not used this work, sorry, that's an incorrect statement. Rather gained some insight from this work. And Konosuba, ReZero, what's the other guy that I really like? Overlord.
Yeah.
Those three all have suggested that this guy helped them with like how to form up their world.
Maybe he did. Maybe he was doing other stuff at the same time. Just like publication-wise, it doesn't line up, right?
But yeah, he's oftentimes given a lot of credit for talking a lot, and then people listening, and then everybody releasing works that are a little bit weirdly similar in many regards.
When I was reading the light novels, I was actually thinking, this is so Overlord. What's happening here right now? It's like someone has just copied
but
this.
This guy is literally listed as influence for them. So it's a bit of a John Carter situation where this became popular later in the West.
Right.
But the people writing the stories that we enjoy, the hero stories, actually took inspiration from this guy.
And John Carter is kind of a isekai when you think about it.
Certainly, yeah. Born into another world. Yeah.
Anyway. So that's what it is, right? And it progresses from the beginning of a new life. He's literally born.
Literally a baby.
Which is quite a popular thing nowadays in reincarnation anime. But before this, they tended to be just reincarnated as the age they died, generally speaking, right?
Or they just regain their memories once they're like 14 or so.
One day they wake up
They usually
fully grown.
They wake up and have their memories restored once they are past sort of their teens. I will say I mean, a lot of the time they come to themselves at like 10 to 12 so that they can follow wacky training regimens to become broken in the future.
Yeah, there are a few. There's like the Apocrypha 3 or something like that that's come out recently, which they sort of gloss over the horrific aspect of the fact that they've kind of taken over someone else's life, having suddenly just woken up. The pharmacist one, they did that.
Yeah, it's the Kai Apothecary.
The magical school one, which just there was a child in that body, and now there's this reincarnated person. So I think I'm happier with this version of the reincarnation story than those ones, generally speaking.
I will say there's an iteration of that version of isekai coming in the future, where the person whose body they reincarnate to either committed suicide or died before the spirit of the incarnator comes into them. So we deal with that problem of taking over someone else's body by the fact that the previous quote-unquote owner died already.
But so the gimmick of this one, right, is
Mm-hmm.
that it's supposed to be a more realistic version of isekai as opposed to your standard kind of shonen style isekai, right? It's not a comedy, although like there's lots of quote unquote funny things that happen throughout it. Your opinion on whether those are funny or not may vary. And it's supposed to be quite like a traumatic journey, I would say simultaneously.
Certainly, there are moments of great trauma in it.
So, I mean, right from the beginning, he has a traumatic death. And then he kind of has to get over his previous life.
And also, his entire life was traumatic, though, as well.
Sure.
We start with the death of his parents, then his family ignoring him, then him running over by a truck. It's horrible at the beginning.
You know, it's an awful existence. And then, you know, then he's reborn into like an alien world. He has to learn a new language. He's a what, like a 37-year-old man in a 0-year-old body at that point.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of humiliation going on there. And like then a few nice things happen to him and he kind of starts getting over the trauma in his life. Like his magical teacher kind of breaks him out of the shell. Literally, he refused to go out of his house in his new world because, you know, that's kind of the way he was in the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
And like a few things like that happen, and he's kind of this new world to him is like a much better version of reality than Japan was, because he's kind of able to exist as himself or his new self quite easily, without having to like justify his existence, I guess, or some whatever reason it is.
Rather, the people around him accept him, so he feels he can be open easier.
Yeah, and he kind of feels he has more value, I guess, in this setting as well.
I'm not sure about that sentence specifically.
Not all the time, but I mean, you know, literally he has magical abilities. He knows he's actually kind of smarter than most people around him.
He otaku'd himself into superpower kind of with magic as well.
Well, yeah, and he's just also from like a more advanced civilization, right? So like literally at the age of 3, he's like reading books and things because he was an otaku, and that's kind of what he was.
He kept his mind. He kept his adult mind, exactly, effectively. Yeah. I will say, as a side note, with the power of hindsight, I finally realized why they messed around with the Eminence in Shadows start, or how the story went.
Sure.
They were trying to emulate this.
Do you think? Oh.
I definitely think so. It felt exactly the same. We start in the real world, we see how the life went, we see him do a heroic act, and then we go into the isekai world.
Okay. I see what you're going with there. Yeah, you're right.
It felt exactly the same in the beginning.
You're right. I mean, I wouldn't say it felt exactly the same, but it's the same formula at least.
Oh, sorry, not exactly the same. I do think Mushoku Tensei actually
the tone is very different.
The story,
right? Like
story was
the
written
Eminence
better
in the Shadow
for it.
kind of death is humorous. It's dumb.
Also,
Mushoku
importantly,
Tensei was,
the
like,
author didn't put
watch.
the death there. The death came 3 books later.
Sure. Yeah.
Once we got used to the Eminence in the Shadow world. But I do feel like some producer somewhere was like, hey, this show's popular and it did this. Let's do that.
Yeah. No, doubtless that did happen there. But okay. So this follows his story as he's growing up. And as of now, we're on book 11, I think, in the anime. Book 10 or 11. Have you read all of these light novels, Yash?
Certainly not.
No,
so
okay.
I read
apparently they're between like 14 and 26, depending on how you look at them.
Mm-hmm.
So there are quite a lot of
I
them.
read the light novel till past here, and I read the light novel till I think 8.
Okay, all right.
But the problem is, for 4.5 years, the web novel waffled in the arc that we are in, and genuinely just removed all affection I have for this series entirely.
I kind of think you might be confused about that.
Maybe I am.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at the time for the last 3 books was 1 year, right?
Books. Please note books
No,
versus web novels.
these are web novels. The web novels are on a 1 year period.
Oh, interesting.
The light
I literally
novels,
sat in the high school
light
arc.
novels all came
for
out in
years.
the same year
Yeah, because he's
because they were done already.
he's
obviously.
edited the work
Yeah.
a lot better. I will say the light novels are a much better experience as a note, if anyone is interested in reading these things.
You know what's very clear with the light novels is that they've moved chapters around. Because they've kept the
But
same
also-
chapter name numbers in the light novel. Obviously, that's probably
Glossary.
what they had in the web novel. But they're just moved to different places sometimes. So you'll get like chapter 4 of a thing before you get chapter 0 of a thing, whatever. Because they wanted to keep something secret.
Secret.
Yeah.
But it also introduces information to you a little bit easier or better, I will say. I personally found the light novels a better experience.
I think they're very good. I think it's strange how much they've left out of the anime, having now read up to that point in the.
I suspect it's
novels.
because they're trying to keep the audience focused on some specific aspects of the story, and there's a little bit too much happening in the light novels at certain times, especially inside Rudius's own head.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, you kind of need that because that is where most of the action kind of happens, so to speak. Or just because there's a lot of like misunderstanding stuff, especially in the school arc that's going on with people.
Or the ability to communicate like humans.
Well, some of them aren't human, so we have to excuse that, I guess.
Really, really calm. Really calm. But I will say, I think it's possibly the anime staff didn't want to adapt those particular parts of Rudius. Perhaps. Because it does feel like those are important and necessary from the light novel side.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because at the same time, he's like really quite a dirty mind, right? When you think about it, but he's also kind of very naive about the things that are happening around him. So there's this weird contrast in like a person who doesn't understand the actions of others around him very well, but he also
Which
has
is
this
actually
really
endearing.
worldly kind of mind about the way he thinks about things.
Because he read and watched stuff that suggested that he understands how people work, but he hasn't actually experienced how people work himself, sort of.
Exactly, yeah.
So there's this disconnect where he's kind of an idiot savant, which almost could be interesting if he wasn't also a complete tool.
And one thing I appreciate up to this point is you never got the impression that he was actually like super strong until he came to the school setting. Because
I kind of disagree, because he overtook Eris Grey Rat instantly and then was like destroying the desert arc for a very long time.
I think you're thinking of a different.
After the teleport.
Yeah.
Sorry, after the teleport disaster, he was the leader in the desert arc.
You mean
And
the
Magic Fort.
demon continent?
Yeah, on the demon continent
Yeah.
when they were traveling back, or at least trying to find people. And
Yeah, no, he was. Well, I mean, I don't know.
He outperformed both the guy with the gem in his head, whose name I know is important, but I can't remember right now, and Eris.
the spell
Okay,
tribe person.
But hang on a second, isn't that after the school arc?
No, it's before. Anyway, so
So this is still when the show is very good, in my opinion. But yeah, it does.
But
he has an
regardless
unusual
of
amount
whether he's the strongest in the party, like there's still he's still getting there's still
tons of people stronger than him
stronger
and
than
stuff
him.
out there.
Literally, he
certainly.
gets killed, right? Brought back to life. I can't remember exactly how. I think it was by the girl with the mask.
I was gonna say Eris sprang over him, but
Yeah, obviously that did happen. You know, that's
But,
weird because she talks about like there being a goddess, and I was kind of wondering if it was Aqua or Eris.
I would personally love if Aqua exists in this universe, but at the same time, I might hate it. Because he was her primary follower. He's literally an Aqualite.
Oh, for sure.
But I do think that before the school arc, he certainly is presented as being way more powerful than most people. In fact, he could probably, I'm not going to say he could threaten Roxy, but he's like on par with Roxy for his age, at least.
No, for
Probably
sure.
better.
I mean, probably more than her, because obviously he
Hmm.
had the benefit of being taught by her, right, and various other
Hmm.
things. But
And she's
but
presented as
he,
like,
the point is like he doesn't know
powerful.
he's strong, right?
Yeah, I suppose that's fair.
And so he gets into the school on the back of killing a dragon single-handedly. That's the rumor anyway, which is
Hmm.
more or less true.
But then
There
doesn't he
were
have to go through an exam? Or at
he has
least
to
a
go through
test?
an
I remember.
entrance exam where he faces off against the
Hmm.
school's strongest student, right?
Hmm.
That turns out to be someone he knows from his past, but he just
Magic
destroys
destroy.
her, completely obliterates any illusion that there's anything in the school that can stand up to him. And then during his school life, he kind of defeats the demon lord, which a demon lord in this is just like a race. It doesn't seem to be like a person who actually leads
It's
demon
not like
armies.
the
Yeah.
demon lord, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But he damages the demon lord, which is already
Well, in the duel,
ridiculously.
he wins the duel, right?
He
That's
wins the
the
duel,
duel. Yeah.
but the demon lord crossed his arms and said, "I'll give you the hit me with the strongest attack you have. I won't attack you. Just try and hurt me at all."
Yeah, if you do any damage, you win. And he he knocked his arms off. Quite literally.
Rudius made a anti-tank penetrating round, rotated it as fast as his magic would
He
allow,
did it as well.
and then shot it.
At like supersonic speeds. But the point is he doesn't really understand that he's a very strong force in the universe until that point. And I think the show did quite like a good, or the novels did a good way of kind of leading up to that. Because it felt kind of organic, and the way he gained that power, almost like a more earned Dragon Ball Z kind of training arc had happened.
I think the bit where we start to realize that he doesn't understand his power scaling is when the other students are casting. I think they were casting at puppets or something. I can't remember exactly what they were doing. But the students were all like pushing out their magic to like show that they are competent or train or something. And he went, is this the level they are at? So then Eris and Paul are actually very strong.
Right, yeah. But I mean, Eris is actually very strong. But she's not a magic user, so to speak. Although she can actually use Fireball, I think. That's one of the things she can do.
So that's what they were using her for in the demon arc. She could put some fire on her sword or like just shoot a bolt and then just force it through.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was trained by like the greatest swordsman and one of the most powerful magic casters in this universe.
Former
really
professor
makes
of that
sense.
school he is now attending. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
I mean, he doesn't really understand how kind of like lucky the human god has made him in that sense, which is fun. Or is it's just part of his personality that he won't accept that he has any worth, maybe.
Which is something that really comes to the forefront during the school arc.
Yeah, so there's some uncomfortable decisions that were made. I'm not sure if we can talk about them on YouTube, to be perfectly honest. Nowadays.
Indeed, let's skip some of that
Yeah.
and go directly to in the anime. Finally, was it in episode 8 or episode 7? We finally meet someone else from Japan.
Ah,
Do you mind skipping to that?
we can go to that for sure.
So I will say, in Mushoku Tensei, the way that they are unfurling the world is very interesting. We're introduced to each area, then we get its politics, what's happening in it, get some of its people, and then you get a generalized idea of how the world is sort of functioning around each other. And even when we get to the school arc, we meet a princess of the kingdom and find out that there's all kinds of machinations occurring in the background.
And then we find out
And
his
all of that-
family is like just intensely intertwined in politics, right?
In politics. We did find out that the Grey Rats were involved in politics previously, but then the world kind of exploded, so that got sidelined.
Yeah.
But yeah, it comes back now. We get to learn about the politics and the sort of inner workings of the kingdom to a certain extent. But we also get introduced to our first, like, overworld plot progression a fairly long time, I think. Because the Demon Continent arc was quite long before this.
Sure.
Very good.
Yeah. And
But someone
it's like it was a distraction against the main plot of the story, right?
exactly. So we get back to the main plot of why was there a mass teleport incident, and we find out that another person came to this world during that incident. Well, in the past, I
Shizuka
suppose.
Nanohoshi.
I didn't
Nanahoshi.
remember her name, but yes, Nanahoshi. But she came fully. Her full body came through. She has her memories, obviously, but she wasn't born into another body. And she doesn't seem to age.
So she also thinks she was what caused the teleportation incident, right?
Or her coming caused it.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know who cast the spell.
Incidentally, like, I think Cliff is also just an isekai. I don't think it's relevant to anything else. It's just and I don't think he ever tells anyone. It's just he is also reincarnated.
A reincarnation. But I think he's also from a different incident. He's not from the big one.
No, I don't know if he's relevant at all. He's just there as a love interest to the elf, I guess. Anyway, that's a thing. So yeah, the world kind of opens up again at that point, and it becomes interesting, I think. Just because you don't really see that much in like a isekai anime. They don't deal with the implications of why people have been transferred or reincarnated or what's going on in the background, unless they're making fun of it, like in Konosuba, I guess. But yeah, that's something I really like, and I hope we well, I think we will actually get like some resolution in the anime as well. And that's just another thing I wanted to bring up is every like 3 episodes is a whole light novel. They're really going for it.
Going quite expedient with it, yeah. So I do think that we're going to get perhaps the entirety of this light novel series translated. Because the pacing is good, the studio is good, and there's a lot of interest.
Yeah, it's doing well as well. Dylan, what did you say?
No, I was just saying that I did notice that like every couple of episodes they fast forward like a year or 2 years in this season.
Yeah, I mean when you think about
I mean,
it, like we've gone through his whole life up to this point, and he's 17 now. So every 2 episodes are a year, really.
Which is a different take in terms of, for me, in terms of the isekai kind of genre. It does feel like you're sort of looking at this person kind of going through their life a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like touching through, and that definitely is the feeling I get from the op in the second season, is that he's just sort of stepping through these phases continuously, you know, and but completely leaving bits of them behind. There's very little consistency in keeping things with him as he goes.
Yeah, he's evolving into like a new kind of being, so to speak. And I think that's yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to ask you, because unfortunately my mind is in a bit of a jumble, having read 3 different versions of this now.
Sure. Yeah, I can believe it.
Have we met future him yet?
No.
Has he met himself yet?
No.
Okay.
What?
Never mind. Carry on.
We're not going to talk about that.
We don't talk about that here. Okay.
No, I think that'll be if they make the next season. You know, that'll happen then.
I know it happens in the school arc, but I'm not sure if we have met one of him yet.
The thing is, we're not going to go into details, but I think they're going to skip that, right? And they're going to go chronologically.
Yeah, they're probably going to skip that.
Right.
Because I remember I've seen Older Self, so I think it was in the manga.
Yeah, so that would be behind. That would be the next book, technically after this book that they're currently going through.
Okay. I'm, as a note, not following the books anymore, so that's why I'm not 100% certain where we are in that story.
So I think they're gonna I think whatever book 9 is what they're on now or whatever, and that'll conclude the Sylviette kind of story. And then after that, we'll see what happens if they make more of it, which they probably will. I'm sure they will. This is only
it's
like half a season,
popular enough
right?
that it suggests that they will. Because I feel the studio that's doing this has made it their like frontliner show.
It's just Kadokawa. It's like it's no,
The
it's one of
animation
the.
studio?
Well, I don't know if it's Kadokawa itself doing the animation.
Studio Bind. It's Studio Bind.
Yeah.
Mm. So Bind, I feel it's a lot like JoJo, where a studio has adopted it, so they will keep pushing.
Yeah.
So even if the publisher is maybe a little bit waffly about it, Bind will force it through.
I hope so. I mean, the anime is like super high quality. Every few episodes, you get like a new animation thing going on, which is nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
And really just easy to watch and good to look at. Okay, so obviously, like I like this and I would recommend it. I think I'd more strongly recommend the light novels now than maybe even the anime. Although both are very good. I just don't think you really understand the world in the anime because they never explain anything.
And also the people's lives are cut out to some extent. We get the important bits, but we lose the a lot of the interactions between Paul and his wife were cut out as well, which I was very sad
And
about.
like some funny things are cut out. Okay, this is like anime funny, right? But Sylphiette, who's pretending to be Fitz in the university saga thing, like there's the panty stealing incident that happens in this where he just picks up some pants that have fallen from a window. There's a whole thing, there's a misunderstanding. He almost gets eaten by a gorilla. And Fitz comes to the rescue. The funny things are like, they kind of just stop it there. But the joke of the scene, like the reason that like Fitz won't give back the panties to the gorilla is because they're hers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a weird thing for an anime show to leave out. That's normally the kind of thing you expect like a Japanese program would find funny and leave in. A great opportunity for like a blushing, girl scene there or something.
Mm-hmm. Although we got a fair bit of blushing Fits at the end of episode 10.
Oh, the next one's going to be more of that. Let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway. I don't know. There's a bunch of humor that maybe is a bit spicy that's left out, and they explain the relations between the characters better and the world's workings a bit better. Like Dylan, there's a character Luke Greyrat.
Yes, the one of the bodyguards for.
Can you describe him?
I actually find it difficult. They didn't spend a lot of time on
Right,
him.
like
So they've got like different facets of him that kind of make you, when you see him from one scene from the other, kind of go, is this the same character? So the first introduction is in episode 0, right, where he's kind of like a squirely kind of figure.
Yeah.
Very very like
standoffish, I would say.
Yeah, and almost like a servant though of what's
the
her name?
princess.
Elaine.
Yeah.
Eris is
Yeah.
Not Eris.
So-
not Eris.
Ariel or
sorry, the
something.
thing.
Yeah.
But when you see him in the school arc, he's very definitely also a grey rat, very definitely also nobility, very definitely like having two ladies, one on either arm, like, and being very smarmy.
Yes.
In one scene with Rudius, and then in a later scene, he's like sort of not smarmy at all. He's kind of covering for Fitz, who probably isn't Fitz, who's probably,
Yeah, Fitz is Sylphie. We know this, I think, at this point.
No, not that. Rudy comes to the conclusion that the reason why they make sure that Fitz doesn't speak is that their charge can kind of put on a glamour to make her look like Fitz, which is what he assumes has happened. At least this is in the anime.
Right.
And it is very clear that this may just be his conjecture and could be wrong.
Yeah.
But it is conjecture.
See, like in the book, they'll explain that they don't want Fritz to speak with a girly voice because it won't be intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of understand that. But I mean, like we're kind of introduced to the fact that all the grey rats via Luke, and he'll say things like, you know, all the grey rats are kind of perverts, right? And these are the fetishes that they enjoy. And he'll go through. Uncle used to like Beast Woman. But he's also this incredibly earnest knight who's like dedicated to his job as for protecting the princess. And very loyal
Rudy
to his
is the
companions.
same.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean,
He's got an earnestness, but he's also a total perv.
He's right. All the grey rats are that way. And I think that everything Luke says is true. I think we've lost like quite a lot of that character in the anime.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
there's not a lot of that character. So I haven't read the books, but I can say there isn't a lot of that character in the anime.
Yeah.
But I think that is because they're just trying to like chew through the timeline as
Like,
fast as they can. But they're doing a good job of it, right? They're not messing that up entirely.
The studio's like, we saw it happen to Konosuba. We're not letting this happen.
Yeah.
We're getting through the whole story.
Progress the plot at light speed. But I mean, which is a difficult thing to do without making it all fall to shit, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, kudos to them for doing that.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a good 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. For the reasons I've said. Yes.
4 out of 10.
4 out of 10. There we go.
Yesh is over it.
Right.
No, it shouldn't exist.
Oh yeah, that's right. That is on the Yesh scale. That is correct.
Okay.
Now
So for Yesh, literally a waste of time. Yet he has read all
Literally
of
a
it.
waste of time.
Why should it not exist? Oh my god, I need to know.
Honestly, so see, the problem is when you read the web novel, you get to see the edits, right? And it genuinely feels like, and I know that this might be false, but based on like reading and watching the edits come in,
Yeah, it's
like somebody gave feedback to the story that was like, this feels like a shitty otaku wrote it or something. And then the guy went in and aggressively added scenes with the word that we're not allowed to say, or slavery, or other things into the story to piss off those people.
Oh, okay. So you actually went extra just to piss them off. Okay. I
feel like
Imagine
then
Harry
I'm reading
Potter
a story.
if J.K. Rowling was a 45-year-old incel.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But the
But the
that's
problem
what this is.
The problem is he took feedback live.
Sure.
So I read the story, then he'd go back and edit, and I'd get notification that there was an edit, and I'd go read the same thing again. And that edit would be to make, let's say, bad things happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know, I think they probably
that's
fixed a bit of that in the light novel.
Certainly, the light novel has removed almost everything terrible.
Right.
Even the scene where, not everything,
Yeah.
but a lot of those like on the moment edits that were in there where he was describing stuff like how warm Eris was, for example, Chris.
No, that's all still there.
It's more loving, let's say.
Yeah, no, it's
less pure discovery.
it's salacious but gentle.
Oh god. Okay.
It's also
Anyways.
taught me the Japanese words for aphrodisiac and various other things.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've got a book that I should totally find and lend you, Chris. I need to go through my storage.
But yeah, as someone who was reading the story as it was being written, I don't like this author. I don't like his writing style.
Yeah.
I love the world, and I really enjoyed the story until the Demon Continent arc. All the way through there, I was very happy with the story. And then I hit the point where the author was writing, and watching him edit stuff for the school arc was horrific.
It's interesting. Like, I can see it because there are some things that I thought, well, this guy's supposed to be from our world and is totally okay with this one thing, and it's kind of heartless. So I can see how what you're saying could definitely have happened, and then through the double iteration of light novel to anime, it's like smoothed out the rough edges of it, but it's still
Mm.
underneath it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
but the problem is I can feel that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Just to give context, his pen name means more or less disappointing grandchild. So I think he knows what he is.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
No, I understand and I can accept what he is, but as a man who grew up reading 4chan, it's like watching 4chan write. I'm just not here for it.
Well,
Okay,
do you
fair,
remember when 4chan wrote that? Well, 2chan technically wrote Train Man.
Train Man came out okay. In a technical sense, 4chan made Hatsukoi Boyfriend.
Sure, I mean,
Which actually
it's
actually
weird. It's
was a
weird
bit-
how good it is at writing books. That's all I'm saying.
And at the same time, I don't really want to look into an open sewer to find something good. So
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
So me being free of all of that context, as well as the context of the first season, this is okay. I don't like isekai as a general rule. I don't find it. I don't find it particularly interesting. At least in the cookie cutter formats that kind of happened kind of happened once there was a defined genre for it. But with that said, having watched up to now, I will probably finish at least this season and consider the next, depending on how they do.
You're gonna be so disappointed.
I mean,
Or maybe slightly angry at me if you watch the rest of it.
I mean,
I will say I could have been influenced too much by the fact that the arc that I got stuck on was where he was in his maximum depression, and we couldn't go through 2 chapters without him talking about his Wang being unable to stand up.
Yeah, the ED arc.
The ED arc, and it literally is brought up all the time. It changes how he views the world.
Or not,
He
yeah.
stops having fun or living. He stops researching magic. His entire world is over because he can't make his Wang stand up.
I mean, but yes. That can definitely happen.
Yeah,
But,
no, I actually think it's
there
quite
are people
realistic.
that will-
If you were like a 17-year-old boy and that happened to you, it'd be pretty devastating.
Yeah, really, life is
Personally,
not worth
I
living
think
anymore.
it could be realistic, but I'm not going to read a fucking isekai to be told how good the real world is.
Okay.
I mean,
fair
so
enough.
do you remember what's it? Ursula Le
Don't read
Guin's
isekai.
The Wizard of Earthsea series?
Yes, I do
Technically,
remember
I think
that.
she's still writing it. You know how all the wizards are like celibate and can't actually get it up. I kind of thought maybe that's what was going on there, because he becomes remarkably stronger as soon as it happens.
His training in the university does improve his power level a fair bit.
No,
but
I mean
the-
like
the
literally
reason-
like the weird thing with the girl happens and then he kills a dragon ish. Like
going
days
to have
later,
to
he
remind you
just
then, I
destroys
guess,
a dragon.
that the way that we find out that he has ED is he's stripping another young girl, and please note in the web novel, they expressly point out how young she is,
Okay,
and
well,
then
look,
we find out how
we're
how
gonna
he
ignore
can't get it up.
that because it's not that way in the light novel, but
It's not that way. It's not that way physically in the anime.
no,
Although it probably is somewhere in the show notes somehow.
maybe perhaps.
How old is she in the anime, by the way?
She's the same age as him, like 16, something like that.
Don't read anime, folks. Don't
Don't read web
don't read
novels.
isekai.
It's where all the trash lives.
Oh god. Fuck that.
But
He
I'm
was
just
14
saying,
in the web novel.
his anger because of that incident makes him into an incredible power. Briefly.
Mm-hmm. And his inability to have fun otherwise makes him practice instead, which
Makes him
goes
earnest
long
for a
way.
while and actually more likable.
Maybe he was wondering what would happen if guys like.
And
stayed
that's
the whole
kind of
time.
the point, right? I think the human god does these things to him to make him grow whenever he needs like a push.
I thought it was an allegory for his depression over being abandoned again.
Don't laugh at me, Dylan. Yeah, no, well, I mean,
Look, I mean,
I don't think it was to get it. He was already depressed,
so.
right? Because of the whole Roxy thing, right? Not Roxy thing.
Well, Eris
Eris
abandoning.
thing, yeah. So I don't think that they needed. But yeah, they just wanted to make him more depressed, for the
Mm.
eventual
For the
relief
school
to
arc.
actually feel like it was earned, I guess.
And the relief was a girl fell on top of him.
No, no, it's
He expressly gets a hard on when Fitz falls on top of him.
that is true, but that's not the relief part that I'm talking about.
Oh, no, never mind. Carry on. Yes, let's ignore that.
Yeah, a
Carry on.
tent falls on top of him. Yes, that's you have to remember the context. Anyway, people will see that soon.
Yes, yeah.
I wonder.
Oh,
I don't.
God.
How are they going to air that? I don't. It's not possible.
Can I tell you a conspiracy theory I have, actually?
Sure. That's
I have a
that's what we love
conspiracy
on this
theory.
channel. Conspiracy theories.
I have
that's
an
what we're all
anime
about.
community conspiracy theory that all of the salacious anime is being made so that we can watch the next season of Konosuba. Do you remember us agonizing? How are they going to adapt the next season of Konosuba? Because the princess arc happens.
Yeah.
Well, the answer is you get Mushoku Tensei out there first.
I don't know.
And Isekai
I still don't
Reviewers
know if it's
and
possible.
redo of Healer.
Well,
My
okay.
friend, we had a redo of Healer
But-
anime. We
but
can watch
the
the
thing
next
is,
season
the
of
thing is, they've
Konosuba.
published all of the light novels for Konosuba, and you and me have read them, except for the last one,
Yeah.
which I'll never read. But she's like 11, dude. Like, it's not a thing that they can put on TV unless they actually change the story
Eris was
completely.
like 10 when she got undressed on
I
screen.
mean, the thing is, like, they can always put
Yeah,
it
but
on if it's...
Kazuma
if
is
it's-
18, yes. It's
Our boy over here was like 34.
sure, but he was like physically like 10 or 9 or
Okay.
whatever. It'll just look too bad, I think.
I think this is all a setup for Konosuba season 2 of season 3.
What if they just skipped the princess stuff?
Then they'll have cut out. No, but the problem is
It's
the
only
princess
2
is
books.
involved in the.
I mean,
She's involved in the entire arc with getting to know Eris.
sure. I mean, what if they just cut all of her stuff out though?
Then you've removed almost the entirety of 2 books.
Uh-huh. I don't see any way of getting around that though.
It's fine. Scumzuzuma will come back to save my anime love, and we will watch that when it
So
comes.
the voice actor that plays Kazuma is coming out in a new anime as a person who's being reincarnated as a pig.
Mhm. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it looks real bad, but looks also very entertaining. Anyway, I don't think we're getting more Konosuba. I think that's why they made the Mega Man stuff, because they just can't make any more. It's sad, but you know, that's the way it is. Apparently there are like 9 games that continue the story, Ash, so if you really
They
wanna
are.
go through it again, you can look at that. Anyway, that'll do it for this review of Mushoku Tensei. I think it's worth watching. Yes, I think it's a waste of time. Dylan?
I mean, I don't know what to think now after all of this backwards and forwards stuff, but it is isekai, and it's not badly done isekai, but it is still isekai.
There you have it. Hopefully this will be
Yeah.
the 6th edition to Isekai Quartet.
Oh my god.
Alright, everyone, thanks for listening. This has been the Japanese thing. Bye for now.
Thank you, bye.
Cheers.